all you're gonna get is a steady diet of follow Israel's orders and shut up about it. There's not even an excuse for this. It has nothing to do with health. Is Bobby Kennedy Jr. on Epstein's list? Yes, he is.
A new notice that's been put out by the National Institutes of Health makes clear that grants will not be awarded to any researchers who have decided to support or engage in the boycott of Israel. And when I say boycott of Israel, it's the boycott and divestment movement that seeks to avoid spending any resources on businesses or business entities located in Israel. And that's meant to basically implement some pressure to get Israel to maybe rethink some of their policies as it pertains to Palestinian civilians. But nonetheless, we can't have that. So now the NIH is deciding that it makes more sense to punish researchers for their political beliefs that, of course, are not in any way tied to medical research they might be doing. So just think about it this way. If a researcher is supportive of the BDS movement, but is also doing important critical research on, I don't know, a cancer cure, well, that individual will be denied grants by the National Institutes of Health because of his political engagements with the BDS movement. So this was a story that was brought to my attention, at least, from Glenn Greenwald over at X, where he posted a screenshot of the notice itself and what it said. So this is the relevant part. It says recipients must comply with all applicable federal anti-discrimination laws material to the government's payment decisions. And then it notes, okay, it lists different, discriminatory acts. And then in D, it says discriminatory prohibited boycott means refusing to deal, cutting commercial relations, or otherwise limiting commercial relations specifically with Israeli companies or with companies doing business in or with Israel or authorized by, licensed by, or organized under the laws of Israel to do business. Do you guys understand how absurd it is that out of all the countries in the world, there's only one country that's cited in this notice put out by the NIH? So you could be as critical of the United States government as you want. And by the way, I think that right should be protected, obviously. But the idea that you can be critical of the United States government and still qualify for NIH grants to conduct important scientific and medical research, but you would be denied those grants if you have, the audacity to be critical of the Israeli government. I mean, that is not America first. Okay, that's obviously not America first. So Cenk, what do you think?
It's also not MAHA or whatever they call it, make America healthy again.
Right.
Like, how does this make America healthy? How does this have anything to do with America? I mean, look at it. Look, at this point, it's totally mask off. Basically, Netanyahu is saying, yeah, I control you bitches. What are you gonna do about it? You stupid Americans. I'm gonna order all of your politicians to do whatever I command them to do. You think Bobby Kennedy Jr. is gonna give you health or human services? No. You think he's gonna do anything? Whether you're a right winger and you want him to do something about vaccines or whatever other agenda you have about that, or you're just a normal American who's worried about what's in our food and you go, oh, well, I kind of like what Bobby Kennedy's doing there. Or you're a normal American who wants drug prices to be lower because the government should be able to negotiate it, et cetera. No, you're not gonna get any of that, okay? You're not gonna get any of it. All you're gonna get is a steady diet of follow Israel's orders and shut up about it. So look, I don't know what the other side has to say here. I don't know what kind of lunatic argument they can make. Oh no, it is not Israel controlling us, even though we did not mention any other country or even America. No, it could be Norway. It could be Paraguay. I don't know who is in charge of our government. It is such a big mystery. Yeah. What does health and human services have to do with boycotts of Israel? That's why they're just saying it now. Yeah, we own you. What are you gonna do about it? Because there's not even an excuse for this. It has nothing to do with health.
One of the potential upsides to RFK Jr. serving in the role that he's serving in within the Trump administration was, prior to getting confirmed for that role, he was a vociferous critic of the FDA because of the corruption within the FDA. And that was something that you didn't hear any government officials complaining about, or there was no indication that it was even on anyone's radar. So while RFK Jr. has had his issues for sure, especially when it comes to some of his vaccine ideology, I thought maybe there could be a silver lining to having him serve within the Trump administration, because I agree with him on corruption and how it's negatively impacting our food supply, how it's making Americans sick. I loved hearing him talk about those things. But based on what we're reading now, RFK Jr. has actually invited more corruption within, the National Institutes of Health, at least. Now, he's not the NIH director, but obviously this is all under the umbrella of the department in which RFK Jr. is the head of. And it's incredibly frustrating to see this happening, because this shouldn't be a priority. And by the way, isn't this unconstitutional? Isn't it wrong for the federal government to punish Americans, in this case, medical researchers, for their political views and their political engagement and speech, I should say? Like, this is crazy. But this has been going on, Cenk. I know this seems novel to a lot of people if they haven't been paying close attention, but on a state level, this kind of behavior has been going on. In Texas public schools, there was a teacher who didn't have, this is years ago, her contract with the school district did not get renewed because the school district found out that she was part of the BDS movement. So what? What impact does that have on her ability to effectively teach within the public school system? It has no effect. But she was punished. Everyone was quiet about it. No one cared. And so now this brain rot has made its way to federal government agencies, and we're all going to suffer as a component of that, because we should be funding important research, especially as it pertains to cures for diseases, things like cancer. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. So look, I've taken a decent amount of crap from some folks for even ever being open to RFK Jr., but I was. So we had an interview with him. We challenged him on the things we disagree on. We agreed on some things back when he was running. I've talked a lot about his housing policy, his anti-corruption policies, which I like, et cetera. So, and he is, in his own way, anti-establishment. So I as much as I disagree with him about vaccines and some of the other stuff that I have to confess that I find to be kooky, I couldn't have a more of an open mind to, hey, maybe while he's doing some damage on some fronts, could actually open up some interesting doors on other fronts. But no. Instead, what do we get? We get an unconstitutional attack against our government. What do you mean I can't criticize Israel? What do you mean I can't boycott Israel? Why? The First Amendment very clearly says I can boycott anyone I like. I have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, et cetera. What is this? You can't criticize Israel nonsense. And so it's obviously deeply unconstitutional. No decent American would be in favor of this crap. Okay, but then you go to the next level. On other stuff like the attacks on the academic freedom and freedom of speech on the academic campuses, they at least have a cover story. Oh, we're so concerned about anti-Semitism. Oh, we don't care if you are racist against black people, or you hate gay people, or Muslims, or Christians, or Americans. We don't care about any of that, but we care deeply about anti-Semitism. Okay, but at least you can make some sort of argument there, right? I mean, barely, it's bare thread, and it's so transparent. But in this case, this isn't even about anti-Semitism. This is about contracts.
Yep.
Wait. Whether you want to spend money in Israel or you don't want to spend money in Israel is related to your health. How? Other than the fact that you're pissing off Israel, and that could be really detrimental to your health if you're in the US government, right? So which then leads me to, I have to say it because he's so over the top. So, okay, let's be honest about it. Is Bobby Kennedy Jr. on Epstein's list? Yes, he is. So does that mean he definitely did something with Epstein? No, I don't know that. And because they won't release the Epstein files. Oh, that's because, the president and the head of HHS are also on Epstein's list. Gee, I wonder why they're not releasing the Epstein files. But did he know Epstein? Yes. Did he have contact with him? Yes. And now as head of Health and Human Services, he's weirdly, for no apparent reason, obsessed with, almost exclusive to anything else, making sure that Israel isn't boycotted in America.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, look, he leaves us no choice but to wonder and to ask those questions, because otherwise this makes no earthly sense. They don't even have a cover story for it. They're just like, that's it. America works for Israel, and no one in America is allowed to disagree.
Yeah, it really is wild. And look, Glenn Greenwald shared this on X. This isn't going to get much play in the mainstream press. And usually the role for going after mainstream media is Cenk Uygur, but I'm going to go ahead and do it in this case because there's no way they're going to get into a deep dive on how the federal government is violating the First Amendment and punishing people for their political speech, specifically on behalf at the behest of one foreign country. It's absurd. All right, that doesn't.
Hey, Anna, real quick, I'll just follow up on that. So, what's the cover story for the media? So, because it's not like MSNBC.
They don't need, Cenk, they don't need a cover story. Okay, we know what happens to people in the media if they're too critical of the Israeli government. You've created a media company where no one has to worry about getting fired for sharing their opinion. But that's not the case in the vast majority of news outlets. Are you crazy? Are you insane? We know what would happen. Come on.
Right. So just like, for example, it's not like CNN, New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC don't have an opportunity or an inclination to criticize Trump. They can't wait to criticize Trump. Yet here, they can't, and Bobby Kennedy Jr., oh my God. The amount of negative articles about Bobby Kennedy Jr. that the New York Times has printed could fill an entire library. But here, criticizing Israel. We cannot find a way to do it. Oh, golly gee, we just ran out of ink. Oh, time to go to a commercial break. I guess we just can't find any criticism of Israel at all. But all of you bow your heads and don't you dare ever criticize Israel. You want to touch a dollar going to Israel? You're not allowed to do that, okay? You must spend all of your dollars on Israel. Both through your taxes, they're gonna take endless billions of dollars from you, and you must spend money there. Otherwise, your health is in danger. Yeah, I know, brother. But okay, go ahead, mainstream media, make up excuses. I wanna hear your cover story. Why aren't you talking about this obvious takeover?
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.